if I'm going to try and influence someone, maybe I will have rapport with someone, right? Like, I don't know what kind of level of rapport you had and all this kind of stuff. Because on one level, look, you have to educate and tell people. But, deep down, do you think that the imams or the people that are kind of, responsible or running this, do you think that they know what they're doing is wrong or they don't? What I'm saying is that fundamentally, like, what are you expecting? Because what you're saying, oh, give me some evidence or justify it, this, that, you're not understanding them. You are not understanding them. Like, you have your position and you believe they should just do your position, right? You have a position and you just want them to do what your position is, right? You just want them to follow your rules, right? Okay, go on then. Whose rules? What I'm saying fundamentally, I don't think you have tried to understand their paradigm.
Right.
That's what I feel. Because, like Stephen Covey, one of the habits he talks about is seek first to understand, then be understood. Okay, let me say that again. Seek first to understand, then be understood, right? Now, of course, look, if I'm with someone one time and it's a short time and I'm probably not going to see them again, if they're doing something wrong, I might enjoy the good and forbid the evil in a very direct way and go, look, you know what, bro, this is wrong. I'm just letting you know, I hope it goes well for you. That's it. Gone, finished. Okay. But if I have my neighbor here, I'm not going to go to my neighbor on day one and say, you're going to the hellfire, you better become Muslim today. Right? Because I'm going to live with that guy for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I don't know. Right? So I've got to do things in a bit of a strategic way. Maybe I'll focus on building rapport. Like, I know my neighbor is doing shirk, for example. If, like, alhamdulillah, I'm never Muslim neighbors in this country, but in another country, I know my Muslim neighbor is doing shirk or rejecting Allah, right? Does that mean on the first day I go to him and say, listen, brother, like, you're just rejecting Allah. You're just like, this is going to get you to Jannah. I never ever would do that. Why? Because I want to build rapport with that person. I want to understand that person. I want to understand their mindset. So why is it when it comes to Muslims, suddenly, like, we behave completely different now? Because they're Muslim, like, we got to force them that they have to do this and they have to. Why? Because we think they are where we are and they see the world the way we see it, but they don't. Just because they are Muslim, that doesn't mean they see the world like you see it. So my next question is, how do they see the world? Well, if you haven't understood them, then you don't know how they see the world. And if you don't understand them and you don't know how they see the world, how are you going to change how they see the world, right? So for me, I would get into that kind of place where I would add a lot of value to the people. I would build rapport with them, but I would really try and understand, like, where are they? And then I would get strategic with some of this stuff. I'm like, look, you know what? Like, how can I help these guys really change? Or maybe I could do a barbecue and I'll tell them that we're going to do a barbecue and we're going to have, like, sisters activities and we're going to have brothers activities, and the activities are going to be different. So brothers are going to go off and they're going to do this, sisters are going to go off and do that, right? And so you don't even have to say, right, guys, we're going to stop the free mixing from now on, and we're going to do segregation, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And we don't have to do any of that. Like, we just need to get creative. We just need to think, like, what's my aim in this? Like, what am I trying to do? And all of this stuff, right? And it might be, you might say to me, bro, I can't be bothered with this and I don't want to do it. I'm not, okay, don't do it. Don't be bothered. It's okay if you don't want to. But what I'm saying is fundamentally that you have to realize people are on their own journey. They see the paradigm and they see the world in a very different way. If you actually want to make a difference to someone's paradigm, the first thing you need to do is you need to really, like, try and understand where they're coming from, understand what influences that, understand all of that, right? And realize that it's not about getting that agreement, because, you might fundamentally say, look, this was in the Quran, this one, and he's like, well, now you've either left with me disbelieving in the Quran or going, okay, I'm wrong. Like, those are my two choices, right? How wonderful are these choices? I'm so ready to go for one of these choices. Either I'm a kafir and I disbelieve in the Quran, or I'm wrong. Okay, which one do I take? I'm just not going to speak to you. Or I'll change the goalposts, right? So we need to kind of think quite pragmatically with when there's people involved like this, and especially when there's a community of people who are doing wrong and all of this stuff, right? So in my mind, like, I'm not saying what they're doing is right. I don't agree with everything you said about what they're promoting and all this stuff. Of course, like, we all think it's wrong, right? If we're coming from the correct perspective. But what I'm saying is, if you really want to change their paradigm, you want to shift the way they're thinking, think more about the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha and realize what you're asking them to do is like saying, stop drinking alcohol, stop this. And they're kind of in that mindset. Even though they're Muslim, they're in the mindset that, no, look, this is fine. We're not going to stop it. We're not going to do it, right? So what we need to work on is their paradigm. We need to work on things. So for example, sometimes you can just do more good deeds and you can start benefiting people, right? So you might just say, guys, you know what? This group of people, what I'm going to start doing is I just want to do one talk every Tuesday for 15 minutes, or before we do this event where they go off and they have coffees together, I just want to do one thing. And in that one thing, maybe, like, you start talking about Iman, the pillars of Iman, building their love, names and attributes of Allah, building that mindset, that perspective and that paradigm of Allah, to the point where they start to feel close to Allah and they're like, okay, I want to do what Allah. Because this is a journey that most of us have been on, where we weren't practicing, we weren't really that interested in Islam, and we started practicing, we started going, and it's a journey everyone went. Some were 22 when they did it, some were 18, some were 14, some were 45. Like, like, this is the nature of it. But if you can do stuff to help move them closer to Allah, accelerate that, that's really great. But I don't think a lot of the time that you're going to be able to do that from a brute force perspective, like we just kind of force them and that, right? So I would kind of like just really, really kind of focus on that. Yeah, what you're doing is really good. And it's really important, and you're definitely in the right direction. So don't let me put you off from what you're doing. All I'm saying is that when you have rapport with someone and when you understand them and when they feel understood, you have a really big chance of changing their behavior, right? But if they don't feel understood and they don't feel like you see their world and they don't feel empathized with or any of that, and there's no rapport there, your chance of changing their behavior starts to reduce significantly, right? So what I'm saying is that what you're thinking is very normal. Like if I meet a group of Muslims and they're drinking alcohol, like, you know, maybe I'll say, bro, what's going on here? You know, alcohol is haram, and I might be direct, you know? So what you're saying generally is absolutely fine. But I'm saying that if you can build that empathy, you can do all of that stuff, then what I'm saying is that you can start to question. So sometimes you can be very direct. If I have a good rapport with someone, I will be more direct than you can believe. Like you will see me communicating, you know, Muhammad, what's wrong with you? Why are you being like this, right? But I'm like, I have this relationship with this person. I can say this thing to him, right? And I know after I've said it, the person will know, you know what, Muhammad cares about me. That's why he's saying it, right? So there's nothing wrong with being direct. There's nothing wrong with you being harsh and going all out. Absolutely. But all I'm saying is like build that rapport and kind of go with it. And then what I would say is that, again, a lot of this is kind of like questioning, right? So for example, let's say that I'm talking to someone and the guy's like, I'm like, so what, you think it's okay for like a brother and sister to kind of sit together and all this stuff? It's like, yeah, when he said no, it's not okay. What did you say to that? You were trying to get him to see that what they're doing is wrong, okay?
Yes.
And the guy said to you, okay, fine, yes, it's wrong. And your next thing to him was, well, okay. So when he said it was wrong, the next thing you said to him was, why are you doing it? Okay, good. So imagine me and you are talking, right? And after all of that, like finally I'm like, okay, you're right, bro, it's wrong. And then you're like, why? Why are you doing it then? Why are you doing it when it's wrong? Even if you said it to me gently, it's like, I've just done something now where I have made a leap. What's the leap? I'm just saying to you that what I'm doing is wrong. So what should be your next thing to me? Look how you're struggling now. Why are you struggling, bro? Are you always in that mode? Why are you struggling? Because like if I'm speaking to someone and, you know, we're going back and forth and then eventually they're like, yeah, it's wrong. I'm like, Alhamdulillah, bro, that's great. I'm really glad that you can see that. You know, a lot of people would have just stuck to their position and just thought, no, I'm right. But the fact that you're actually saying that you feel that it's wrong and this and that, I think it's amazing. And you know, I understand that sometimes culturally we're in a situation where it's very normal for us to be with women and this and that, and it just feels like it's natural, right? But deep down we know it's wrong, and it's great that you see that. So what do you think we can do, bro? Like if we really believe that it's wrong, what could we do about this situation? But this is what I'm saying, right? That if you're in a position of empathy, then what I just said is a very natural reaction, because you're thinking from that person's perspective. You're like, whoa, this guy just made a shift where he's doing this wrong. I've called him out and said, this is wrong. And he's gone, okay, it's wrong. It's like, well done, bro. Like, amazing. MashaAllah, man. Like, I know guys who would say, no, it's not wrong. And you actually said it's wrong. Fantastic, bro. I really respect that. Now, imagine you said all this stuff that I respect it. Thank you. You're amazing. All this stuff. Like, what's going on in his head? He's just gone, I've just done the right thing. And now I feel great about doing the right thing. And this brother's actually saying really nice things about me. So he agreed to one of the three options you wanted him to agree to, yeah? So he agreed with the option. So even though he agreed with the option, now you brought your paradigm into it, yeah? Like he didn't say it like that. He didn't say it like that. Did he agree with the position that you asked him or not? Not the way you want him to, yeah? You want him to do sujood in that moment.
No.
Astaghfirullah, like I did wrong and this is completely wrong and I will never ever look at a woman again. That's what you want? Good. So he wasn't sincere, yeah? We just discussed it, right? You said, yes. I want him to be sincere. Yes. I want you to be sincere. What does that mean? Because obviously you opened his heart up and you saw that inside his heart, right? You opened his heart. And this is what I'm saying, that when it comes to these discussions, you cannot change anyone else what they do. But what you can change is your own performance. You can change when he says he's chosen this option, you can give him the benefit of the doubt. In your mind, you can create a paradigm where, wow, this guy just made a jump. He could have just said, I don't want to answer that. He could have just said, no, that one's better, even though it was worse. He could have done anything, but he went with that one. So now you can go, you know what? I rate him. I respect that. Thank you. This, that, whatever. But instead, you chose to question his sincerity. By the way, you might be completely right. He might not be sincere. Allah knows. He knows. You don't know. Right? So Allah knows, he knows, you don't know. But what you did is you jumped then back to, oh, like he's not sincere. He's just saying it. And then you were like, okay, if you're just saying it, why are you doing it then? So now you're trying to prove that he's insincere because he said it and he's still doing it. So that means he's not sincere in what he's doing. And so now we're going to prove it's not bad enough that he said he's wrong. He has to now say, I'm not really sincere anyway. You know, I'm not scared about Islam. You know what? Maybe I should just leave Islam. You made a really good point. I should definitely just leave Islam.
No, brother.
That is really good, bro, because that is a level of awareness which is above many people's awareness, right? Like you're listening to it and you're going, listen, this is your paradigm. Like, be careful. That's good. It's not about reminding yourself it's the paradigm. It's about choosing which paradigm do you want to have for people. What paradigm do you want to have for people? That should be your fundamental question, right? Like, what paradigm do I want to have for people? Do I want a paradigm of mercy and gentleness and this and that? Or do I want to have the paradigm of, you know, you're wrong and proving people wrong and telling them why I'm right and giving them the evidence of why? Like, which paradigm do you want to have? Which paradigm do you want to have? You know, and that's the kind of thing. And that's what I'm saying to you. I've worked with people who have been like serious drug addicts. Yeah. And even some of the brothers I worked with, they said to me that the reason why they changed is because there was a really good brother who stuck with them throughout the time. And eventually they gave up the drugs and they stopped doing all that because this brother was understanding and this brother was with me and he was there for me and this. And that's what they say, bro. What they don't say is, yeah, that brother who kept saying you're haram, this is wrong, because of him I stopped drugs. I've never heard that. Sorry. Like, it's always understanding and he was there for me and he helped me and it's these kind of things, right? And so what I'm saying is fundamentally, you know, the Prophet ﷺ, he was someone who was very gentle. He was someone who was very empathetic. So I'm saying, look, you need to take these things and match them with the dawah skills and the knowledge and all the things that you have, and then you need to go out to them. And so when people make little shifts, don't belittle it. This is the Prophet's advice, not mine. Don't belittle any deed. So if the brother has gone from saying, yeah, this is what I'm doing, to saying, yeah, you know what, maybe it is wrong. Even if he says maybe it is wrong, you can still not belittle that one thing and go, you know what, this is huge. You just like made a shift where you're doing this. And you know what, this shows true sincerity. It shows iman that, you know, you, even though you might feel like doing this thing, you're like, no, I shouldn't do it. It's not good to do this. That's amazing, bro. Maybe you could just end the conversation there and leave it on a high. Why go to 5 more points and argue? I'm going to see this guy every week anyway. So why not just go, bro, you know what, that's amazing. Like the fact that you made that thing, this and that. And inshallah, you know, maybe together we can do something about it and whatever. But just the fact that you said that you thought that, that's amazing. And just like, exactly, Yunus has got a really good point, right? He's like, and I tell my kids this, right? When my kids, when they're talking like rudely to each other, right? I go to them, I go, like I was saying a couple of days ago, I go, guys, who was the worst of mankind ever? And they're like, Fir'aun? I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, how did Allah tell Musa to speak to Fir'aun? And then that's when they go quiet. Why? Because the way they're speaking to each other is not good, right? So I'm like, go on, tell me, like, how did, and then they're like, nicely. I'm like, yeah, like you got the worst person in human history, and Allah saying to a prophet who's like one of the best of all people, that when you go to him, go and speak to him like this. Think about that, bro. And the people you're dealing with are Muslims. They're like people who believe in Allah. They love Allah and His Messenger, and Sallallahu, you know? So it's like this kind of way of behaving with them. I think if you add that gentleness and you add all those things, you know, it's really, really going to shift the way you speak to them. And then I think what's possible in terms of you giving dawah and you doing that stuff, it's going to go through the roof, bro. It's going to go through, and this is, by the way, this is how all people are, yeah? Like generally, I might be very empathetic, and what I need to do is become a bit more direct, or I might be so direct and I need to become more empathetic. And most people, they go through their lives where they just have this one path and just stick with it. But the people that do really well, bro, they're the ones that diversify, right? So you get good at not only being direct, but you get good at being empathetic. You get good at asking questions. You get good at this and this and this. All of this comes from practice, and it comes from making mistakes and messing up. Don't think you're the only one. Don't think that everyone on the call does it. Everyone does this. Maybe I do it with my kids. Maybe you do it with your mum. Maybe he does it with his friend. Maybe he does it with his non-Muslim dawah. Whatever it is. But these habits are things that we all go through, right? And fundamentally what we're saying is that just be more empathetic, be more kind, be more, you know, gentle with people. Go to that position where you're trying to understand what they're trying to do. And inshallah, that will take you really far. And even if it doesn't take you very far, at the end of the day, they will feel close to you. They will feel empathetic towards you. They will feel understood by you, and they'll be much more likely to take your advice and consider it. If you give a person an option, this is why I say that when it comes to these dawah kind of things, a lot of the time, the option that you're giving to the non-Muslim is be a kafir or be wrong. When I do most dawah to people, if I'm saying to them, be a kafir or be wrong, they're like, I'd rather be a kafir because maybe there's a chance being a kafir is okay and right. But you're saying to me, choose to be wrong? Like, no, I don't want to be wrong. But if we make the choice something slightly different and go, you know what, you're an atheist, so you're saying La ilaha? I'm like, wow, like you're half Muslim already. This is fantastic. You know what? This is great. Like I think you're so much better than people who have the Hindu belief or the Christian belief. Why? Because they corrupt their beliefs. Like they think they have belief in one God, but then they worship an elephant and they worship this. Like the fact that you're pure, like you don't believe in anything, as soon as you start believing in Allah and you're gonna like take it to the next level, it's like, what? So what you're saying, that I'm kind of like a good Muslim already, right? I just need to do like to my la ilaha, I just want to add Allah, illa Allah, and that's it, I'm done, yeah? Yeah, you're done. That's a very different preposition to you're wrong, and you've been wrong all your life.